The alien woman was astonished when a human male impregnated her on the first try. Best HFY Stories, the twin sons of Redora V sank low behind jagged cliffs, painting the desert sky in shades of orange and violet. Dust swirled around the legs of a lone figure riding a sleek hovering hoverbike across the barren plains. Jax Tanner, a human cowboy from the core worlds, adjusted the brim of his weathered hat and squinted against the glare. He had traveled far, further than most humans had ever dared, and yet the horizon still felt endless. Redora V was known among space traders as a lawless frontier world. Its surface was harsh, its storms unpredictable, and its native species, tall, silver-skinned beings with eyes like molten gold, were said to be unwelcoming to outsiders. But Jax had a way of moving quietly, observing first, speaking later, that had kept him alive in countless frontier worlds. The settlement of Korath lay in a shallow valley ahead, nestled between craggy outcrops. Smoke rose lazily from its clustered domes, proof that someone lived here. Yet the air held a tension that made Jax's instincts flare. This place had rules, but not the kind written in books or stored in databanks. Frontier law was measured in courage, cleverness, and a bit of luck. As he descended toward the settlement, a sudden shimmer in the sky caught his eye. He brought the hoverbike to a halt on a ridge, watching as a silver figure emerged from the sands. She moved with grace, every motion precise and deliberate. Her long metallic hair seemed to capture the fading sunlight, scattering it in 1,000 tiny sparks. Jax had never seen an alien like this before, and he didn't startle easily. The alien Zara stood tall, her eyes narrowing at the approaching human. She had heard whispers of humans, but most Rimworld natives considered them primitive, reckless, and unpredictable. Yet there was something different about this one. He carried himself with calm confidence, not arrogance, but the quiet assurance of someone who had faced danger more than once. "You are far from your world, human," she said, her voice melodic but firm, carrying across the desert wind. Jax tipped his hat. "Name's Jax Tanner. I ride where I need to. Looks like I found Korath." Zara's golden eyes glimmered. Few humans survive the sands of this rim. Even fewer reach the settlement. She paused, scanning him. "And yet you come alone." "I like to travel light," Jax replied, his voice steady. "Less to slow me down when trouble comes." Zara's lips curved slightly, an expression that could almost be mistaken for a smile. Trouble always comes. The settlement lay below them, its domes glowing softly in the evening light. Jax guided the hoverbike down the ridge, careful to land smoothly. The locals emerged from their homes, humanoid in shape, but taller, more elegant, with subtle patterns etched into their silvery skin. Some carried tools, others weapons, but none stepped forward aggressively. The tension was palpable. Jax dismounted and adjusted his gloves, studying the settlement. It looked ordinary at first glance. Simple structures, basic technology, a mix of old-fashioned and alien designs, but something about it didn't feel right. The patterns in the sand suggested recent activity, tracks leading away from the domes partially covered by drifting dust. A small creature darted from the shadows, its translucent wings glinting in the fading light. Jax crouched instinctively, allowing it to pass. Zara's gaze followed the same movement, then returned to him. "You notice details humans usually miss," she said. "I notice what keeps me alive," Jax said. "Frontiers are full of surprises. You either see them or you don't." Zara studied him, her eyes flicking toward the settlement. "Your kind is unusual. Most humans would have run into the desert sands long before now." Jax smirked. "Maybe. But some of us like the challenge." The wind picked up, carrying the scent of minerals, dust, and something faintly sweet, like desert blossoms. Jax took a step toward the nearest dome. Zara followed, keeping a careful distance. The settlement's residents watched silently, their expressions unreadable. Inside the dome, the air was cooler, conditioned to handle the planet's harsh climate. Holographic displays floated above workstations, showing maps of the surrounding desert, star charts and symbols Jax didn't recognize. He moved deliberately, scanning the room. "Your settlement is organized?" he said, keeping his tone neutral. "Not the usual chaos I expect from a frontier world." Zara inclined her head. "We survive because we adapt. But adaptability is not the same as ingenuity." Jax raised an eyebrow. "Careful, that sounds like a challenge." "It is," she said. "If you wish to remain here, you will need to prove yourself. The sands are unforgiving, and so are we." Jax's gaze drifted to a panel near the entrance, its lights flickering. A small alarm icon blinked quietly. No one else seemed concerned. He knelt, examining it. This panel is misaligned. Someone tried to hack it, or maybe it just malfunctioned. Zara's eyes widened slightly. You detect subtle flaws immediately. Most humans need time to understand our systems. I don't like surprises, Jack said simply. Better to fix things before they become problems. Without waiting for permission, he reached into his satchel and pulled out a small tool set. Fingers skilled from years of handling machinery moved quickly. Within minutes, the panel hummed steadily, lights stabilizing. A hush fell over the room. Zara's expression shifted from curiosity to astonishment. You corrected it on the first try, without instructions. Jack shrugged. I've had to figure things out on the fly before. Nothing personal. The alien residents whispered among themselves. This human, fragile in appearance, ordinary in clothing, had done something none of them could. Something impressive. Human. Zara took a slow step toward him. I underestimated your species. I did not think a human could succeed without guidance. Jax looked up, meeting her gaze evenly. Guess that makes me unusual. Her golden eyes studied him, measuring, analyzing, almost like a predator studying prey, but not with hostility. Respect. He sensed it. Perhaps you will stay, Zara said. Perhaps you will help us? Jax smiled faintly. But I don't stay anywhere too long. The frontier calls me further. Zara tilted her head. The frontier has a way of testing those who wander into it. Sometimes it keeps them longer than they expect. Jax pocketed his tools. He could feel the desert wind beginning to rise outside, carrying with it the scent of sandstorms and distant danger. He knew the settlement needed someone clever, someone who could handle unexpected problems. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt like this world, and this alien, would test him in ways no other frontier had. The hum of machinery, the soft flicker of lights, and the distant howl of wind over the dunes created a strange harmony. Jax took a deep breath. All right, Zara. I'll give you a start. Let's see what this frontier really has in store. Zara's golden eyes gleamed. Then the test begins. And in that moment, under the twin suns of Rydora V, a human cowboy and an alien woman met for the first time. Not as friends, not yet as allies, but as two beings from different worlds who would soon discover that survival, ingenuity, and courage were universal languages. The desert sand shifted outside, whispering secrets of hidden dangers, ancient relics, and challenges that only a human with wit and courage could face. Jax had arrived on Rimworld as a stranger, but he would leave an impression no one here would forget. As the first stars appeared in the violet sky, he mounted his hoverbike again. Zara watched him silently, still astonished by the human's effortless skill. The frontier night was just beginning, and with it came trials that would test both of them in ways neither could imagine. Jax kicked the throttle. Dust and starlight swirled around him. The frontier had called, and he had answered. The twin suns had disappeared entirely, leaving the desert of Rydora V bathed in violet twilight. The wind whispered over the dunes, carrying the scent of minerals and distant alien flora. Jax Tanner's hoverbike hummed softly as he circled above the settlement of Korath, scanning the surrounding plains. His sharp eyes caught movement in the sands, small, glimmering shapes darting in patterns too organized to be random. Zara watched silently from the edge of the settlement, her golden eyes following his every move. She had never seen a human respond to the strange desert patterns with such immediate understanding. Most newcomers would have panicked, but Jax didn't. He analyzed, adjusted, and acted. Like the frontier itself had taught him a language only he could speak. You move with ease, Zara said, stepping closer. Even in darkness, you understand the sands. I've learned to read subtle signs, Jax replied, leaning over the hoverbike. Tracks, shadows, wind patterns. The desert speaks if you listen. Zara tilted her head. Perhaps your kind is more adaptable than I thought. But adaptability alone is not enough to survive here. Jax raised an eyebrow. Then what else is needed? Ingenuity, she said, her voice softening slightly. And understanding. You will need both if you are to stay on Rydora V. Jax smirked. Then consider me listening. The first trial began the next morning. A signal from the outer dunes flashed across Zara's settlement monitors. The windmills powering one of Korath's water extractors had stopped. Without it, the settlement's supply of clean water would dwindle within hours. Human, Zara said, pointing at the display. Can you fix it? Jax didn't hesitate. He grabbed his satchel, checking his tools. Show me. The path to the water extractor was rough, the desert littered with jagged rocks and shifting sands. As they approached, a low hum began in the air, a subtle vibration that hinted at malfunction. Jax crouched, studying the structure. The windmill's base was partially buried under sand, and several panels were misaligned. Looks like the storm last night didn't just move sand, Jax said. It also knocked the system off balance. Zara nodded. You are correct. Most would attempt repairs blindly and risk worsening the problem. Jax's hands moved quickly, carefully aligning panels, checking circuits and adjusting the windmill's blades. He noticed a subtle design flaw in the mechanism. The original builders had underestimated how the strong desert winds would interact with the structure during storms. I can reinforce this, he said, but I need a few materials. Zara led him to a storage dome where rare minerals and building compounds were kept. Jax combined the local materials with his own portable toolkit, creating a stabilizing system that the settlement's engineers had never imagined. Within the hour, the windmill hummed steadily, spinning with perfect balance. Zara's eyes widened. You solved a problem we thought unsolvable. In a single attempt. Jack shrugged, wiping dust from his hands. Sometimes it just takes looking at it differently. The news spread through the settlement like wildfire. Humans were rare here, and one who could fix a complex system on the first try became almost a legend overnight. Children peeked from behind buildings, whispering about the clever human, while adults nodded in quiet approval. But not everything in Redora V was so welcoming. As Jax worked, he noticed unusual tracks leading away from the settlement, partially hidden by shifting sand. They were too large to be the desert wildlife he had seen before, and their pattern was deliberate, like someone or something had been watching the settlement for days. Dada, he pointed it out to Zara, you're not the only ones dealing with challenges. Someone, or something, is observing us. Zara's expression darkened. We suspected this. The Rimworld is full of hidden dangers, both natural and intelligent. You may have fixed the windmill, but now you will need to understand the observer. Jax felt the familiar thrill of the unknown. The frontier wasn't just about surviving storms or fixing machines. It was about reading intentions, predicting outcomes, and staying 2 steps ahead. That evening, the desert came alive with movement. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and the wind carried strange echoes that didn't belong to natural sounds. Jax and Zara rode together on the hoverbike, scanning the dunes. Suddenly, a series of glowing markers appeared on the sand. They are trying to communicate, Zara said, eyes wide, or warn us. Jax slowed, studying the patterns. They weren't random. They were deliberate sequences of light reflecting off small, crystal-like formations in the sand. It took him a moment, but he began to decode them. Each flash represented a simple message. Storm approaching, unstable ground. You see? Zara said softly. You understand what we could not. Humans can perceive and adapt quickly to subtle signs, Jax nodded. That's what keeps us alive on frontiers. Working together, they reinforce the outer perimeters of Korath's settlement, stabilizing sand walls and marking dangerous areas with reflective markers for the residents. When the storm hit, the settlement held firm. No structures collapsed, no lives were lost. The storm howled and raged, but Jax and Zara's preparations kept disaster at bay. Afterwards, Zara approached him. I am astonished. You not only fixed our technology, but you also interpreted signs we overlooked and protected our people. Jax shrugged again. I've been lucky. Or maybe just observant. Luck does not account for foresight, Zara said. Humans have a remarkable ability to adapt and innovate on the first attempt. You remind me of stories from the core worlds, where humans thrive against impossible odds. Jax grinned. Stories usually leave out the part where people nearly fail. Zara laughed lightly, a sound like wind over polished stone. Perhaps. But you succeed where most would not. That is why I say your kind is unusual. The next day, Zara introduced Jax to another challenge. A delicate alien plant used to purify the settlement's water was dying. It required a precise balance of minerals and light that only the planet's shifting suns could provide at certain hours. Humans rarely have the patience for such subtleties, Zara said. Do you? Jax knelt beside the plant, studying its leaves and roots. He tested the soil, adjusted reflectors, and gently repositioned the plant to optimize sunlight. He even modified a small device to regulate water flow based on the plant's response. Within hours, the plant perked up, its translucent leaves glowing faintly in gratitude. Zara's eyes were full of wonder. You understand life on a level we rarely see. You act carefully, yet decisively. On the first try, you succeed. It's about observation, Jax replied. You don't rush. You study. Then you act. The settlement began to see him not just as a visitor, but as someone who could be trusted to solve problems creatively. Children followed him around, asking questions. Adults sought advice. And Zara, she studied him quietly, astonished by how naturally he navigated challenges she thought required decades of training. As night fell again, the twin moons rising over the dunes, Jax and Zara rode to the edge of the settlement. The desert stretched endlessly, dark and mysterious. You have impressed them, Zara said softly. And me? Jax glanced at her, catching the rare glimmer of a smile. I guess humans can be full of surprises. They are, Zara said. But the frontier is not finished testing you. Tomorrow a new trial begins, one that will require more than ingenuity. It will require trust, courage, and the willingness to step into the unknown. Dust and moonlight swirled around them. The desert was quiet now, but he knew better. Somewhere out there, challenges awaited, strange, unpredictable, and impossible to foresee. That was the life he chose, the life he thrived in. And for the first time on Redora V, he felt truly at home. The desert night stretched endlessly under Redora V's twin moons. The stars were scattered like silver dust across the violet sky, and the cold wind carried the faint scent of minerals and desert flowers. Jax Tanner rode his hoverbike slowly along the ridge overlooking Korath, his eyes sharp for any unusual movement. Tonight, something felt different. Zara rode beside him, silent but alert. She had been impressed with Jax's quick thinking in the past days, but the trial she had prepared tonight would test more than skill. It would test courage, intuition, and trust. The signs are subtle, she said, her voice barely above the whisper of wind. You will need to notice things humans usually overlook. Jax nodded. I've got eyes and ears. Show me what I need to see. They reached a section of desert filled with crystalline rocks that glittered faintly under the moons. From a distance, the formation looked like a field of jewels, but as they approached, Jax noticed that some of the rocks were shifted slightly, leaving small gaps that revealed tunnels beneath the sand. Careful, Zara warned. These tunnels are natural, but not harmless. The sands shift, and even small tremors can trap an unwary traveler. Jax dismounted and crouched, examining the edges of the openings. He ran his gloved fingers along the sand, feeling vibrations that hinted at hidden chambers below. These tunnels, they're more than just holes. Someone or something has been moving through them recently. Zara's golden eyes glimmered in the moonlight. Yes, that is the test. Find the source and understand its purpose? Jax glanced at her, a faint grin on his face. A mystery in the desert. Sounds like home. The first steps into the tunnel were cautious. The walls glittered with mineral veins, casting faint reflections that danced as Jax and Zara moved. The air was cooler here, tinged with the scent of moisture, a rarity in this dry desert. After a few minutes, they reached a small chamber where faint carvings lined the walls. Strange symbols, unlike any Jax had seen, seemed to pulse faintly with light. He crouched, brushing away dust, tracing the carvings with his fingers. These symbols, they form a pattern, Jax said slowly. It's a map or instructions, but in layers. Each line seems to represent something different. Wind currents, moon phases, even sand shifts. Zara's eyes widened. You see it. Most of my people would take days to understand even a part of this. Jax smiled faintly. Humans are good at pattern recognition. Helps us survive. He stepped back, studying the chamber from above. His eyes caught a faint shadow moving behind a crystal formation. A small creature, luminous, with translucent wings, fluttered across the room. It landed near a pile of stones, revealing a hidden entrance deeper into the tunnels. Follow it, Jax said, pointing. It knows something. Zara hesitated. It may be a guide or a trap. Jax shrugged. Frontiers are full of traps. The key is to stay alert and think ahead. They followed the creature into a larger cavern, where the ceiling arched high, and faint streams of light reflected off mineral veins, illuminating strange machinery embedded in the rock. Jax approached cautiously. The devices were alien, yet functional. Pumps, levers, and panels covered in symbols that matched the carvings outside. Someone built this, Jax said. Someone who understood the desert and its crystals. Indeed, Zara said softly. These tunnels are a remnant of our ancestors. They designed them to collect moisture from the air, to store water in hidden chambers during storms. Jax's eyes lit up. Ingenious. They turned the desert into a hidden reservoir. Whoever did this knew survival better than anyone I've seen. Zara nodded. But the system is failing. Shifts in the sand and changing winds have destabilized it. If we cannot repair it, the settlement may face shortages. Jax studied the devices, his mind working quickly. I can fix this, but it'll take careful adjustments. I'll need to recalibrate the pressure systems and stabilize the crystal conduits. Zara watched as Jax moved among the machinery. His hands were steady, precise, and confident. Within hours, he had realigned panels, rerouted channels for water flow, and adjusted crystal angles to maximize condensation. He even devised a small reflector to channel moonlight into the tunnels, energizing the system during the night. When he finished, a soft hum filled the cavern. Water trickled through channels, filling hidden basins beneath the sand. The tunnels glowed faintly with life, the centuries-old system restored. Zara's golden eyes shone. You have done in hours what my people could not do in decades. On the first try, you succeed. Jack shrugged modestly. I just look, think, and act. Sometimes it works out. But even as the system came to life, the desert outside rumbled faintly. The sands shifted more violently than before, and a distant sound echoed through the tunnels, a deep, rolling vibration that made the crystals tremble. They are aware of our presence, Zara said. The desert itself watches, and it does not forgive carelessness. Jax's eyes narrowed. Then we make sure we leave no mistake behind. Working together, they reinforce the tunnels, securing the crystal conduits and marking weak points. Zara moved beside him, following his instructions, learning quickly from his methods. She realized something profound. Humans didn't just react. They anticipated. They predicted outcomes before they happened, combining instinct with ingenuity in a way even advanced alien training could not replicate. Hours passed. The twins' moons rose higher, and the desert grew silent once more. Jax and Zara emerged from the tunnels into the open night, the stars shining above, the settlement lay below, small but safe. The hidden water system would ensure survival for months, maybe years. You've done more than repair machinery, Zara said quietly. You have given Korath security it has not known in generations. Jax looked down at the settlement, a faint smile on his lips. Humans are good at solving problems others consider impossible. Maybe that's why we keep surviving, even when odds are against us. Zara's gaze lingered on him, admiration clear in her expression. And yet you do not seek praise. You act, and it is enough that it works. That's frontier life, Jack said simply. Survive, adapt, and help where you can. Pride comes later, if at all. The wind stirred around them, carrying the scent of minerals and desert flora. Zara studied the horizon, then turned to Jax. Tomorrow, you will face the final trial. The challenge is no longer mechanical or intellectual. It'll demand trust. Between you and me and between your instincts and the unknown? Jax smirked faintly, his eyes reflecting starlight. Then bring it on. I've handled storms, traps, and puzzles. I'm ready for the unknown. Zara nodded. Good. The frontier tests all who enter it. Few pass, and even fewer leave unchanged. You have impressed me, human. But the true challenge lies ahead, under the twin suns, where dust and starlight meet. They rode back toward the settlement, the desert quiet except for the soft hum of Jax's hoverbike and the whispering wind. The hidden tunnels beneath the sands glimmered faintly, restored to life, and the settlement slept, unaware of the danger it had narrowly avoided. As Jax dismounted near the dome where he stayed, he glanced at the horizon. The desert stretched endlessly, dark and mysterious. Somewhere out there, trials awaited, strange, unpredictable, and impossible to foresee. But Jax Tanner thrived on the impossible. He had faced the unknown, solved what others could not, and earned the astonishment and respect of an alien race. The frontier had tested him, and he had risen to meet it. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring the greatest test yet. Word count, approximately 1,250. The twin suns of Rydora V rose slowly over the horizon, spilling gold and violet light across the desert plains. The sand glittered faintly as the first rays touched the crystalline rocks that dotted the landscape. Jax Tanner mounted his hoverbike, the wind already carrying the dry scent of the desert. Today, he knew, would be different. Zara appeared at the edge of the settlement, her golden eyes focused and serious. She was silent for a moment, watching him before speaking. The final trial begins today, she said. It will test not only your skill, but your judgment, courage, and trust. Are you ready? Jax adjusted his hat and smirked faintly. I was born ready. But I'm guessing this isn't about fixing machines or reading patterns. Zara shook her head. No, this challenge is about understanding the desert itself. It is alive in ways few humans have experienced. You must navigate it, anticipate it, and work with it, not against it. Only then will you succeed. Jax revved the hoverbike's engines and nodded. Then let's get started. They rode toward a distant ridge where the desert dipped into a valley filled with towering crystal spires. From afar, it looked like a labyrinth, shimmering with reflected sunlight. This is the Veil of Dust and Starlight, Zara said as they approached. Many have entered, but few have emerged. It is a place of hidden currents, underground streams, and unstable formations. The desert will challenge you at every turn. Jax studied the valley carefully. Even from above, he could see the sand shifting strangely around the spires, forming unpredictable paths. Looks tricky, he said. But I like tricky. Zara guided him to the valley entrance, where the sand stretched like a soft carpet but hid sharp rocks beneath. Jax adjusted the hoverbike's suspension and navigated carefully. Every inch of the valley required attention. Small dips, sudden rises, shifting sands. Hours passed as they moved deeper. The twin suns climbed higher, casting long shadows that played tricks on the eyes. Jax noticed subtle signs, a slight shimmer in the air, a vibration beneath the sand that hinted at hidden passages. He followed them, trusting instinct as much as observation. You are moving well, Zara said, her voice quiet but full of admiration. Most humans would struggle with the shifting patterns. You anticipate, you adapt, and you survive. Jax glanced at her with a grin. Humans have a reputation for thriving where others fail. It helps to stay alert and think ahead. They reached a central chamber in the valley where crystalline formations glowed faintly. In the middle lay a small pool of water, its surface still and reflective. Jax dismounted, kneeling beside it. This pool, it's the heart of the veil, Zara explained. It collects moisture from the air and feeds the underground channels. If it is disturbed, the entire valley can collapse. Jax studied the pool carefully. Tiny vibrations hinted at movement beneath the surface, streams shifting, sand settling. He realized that the veil's balance was delicate. One wrong step could send ripples through the underground channels, disrupting water flow or destabilizing the spires. I understand, he said. We move carefully, predict patterns, and act only when necessary. Zara nodded. Good, but the true test is cooperation. The veil reacts to intent. You must trust me, and I must trust you. Only together can we navigate it safely. Jax smiled faintly. Then, let's work together. They moved slowly, observing the faint shifts in sand and crystal reflections. Zara pointed out hidden currents and pressure points while Jax adjusted the hoverbike's path and suggested small modifications to their route. They spoke little, relying on instinct and subtle cues, learning from each other with every step. At one point, a narrow channel appeared between towering crystal spires. The sand here shifted more rapidly, forming soft ridges that could swallow an unsteady foot or wheel. Jax dismounted and tested the ground with a long pole, feeling vibrations that told him the safest path. He motioned for Zara to follow, carefully guiding the hoverbike along a path that avoided danger. You read the terrain well, she said. Better than many of my people. Jax shrugged. Humans read patterns. It's how we survive deserts, storms, and frontiers. Deeper in the valley, the air shimmered with heat and reflection. The crystal spires refracted light, creating illusions of movement. Zara paused, placing a hand on a spire. The veil can confuse even the most attentive, she said. You must trust both your eyes and your instincts. And trust me. Jax nodded. He had learned that trust was part of survival. In the frontier, no one succeeds alone. He followed her guidance, observing every detail, anticipating shifts and adjusting instantly. Hours passed. Sunlight shifted, casting new patterns across the valley. Jax noticed a subtle vibration beneath the water pool. He crouched, placing a hand near the surface. Tiny ripples spread, forming a hidden current. This pool, it's alive, he said quietly. It responds to motion, weight, and intent. Even small changes affect everything downstream. Zara nodded. That is why humans rarely thrive here. Most act without thinking of consequences.
You understand cause and effect instantly.
You respect the desert. Jack smiled faintly. Guess that's why I'm still here. Together they navigated the last section of the Vale. The spires grew taller, forming a narrow canyon with barely enough space for the hoverbike. Vibrations beneath the sand indicated hidden passages and water channels. Jack slowed, using his tools to mark pressure points and reinforce the ground. Zara moved alongside him, coordinating subtly, ensuring the machinery of the Vale remained undisturbed. The final stretch required precision, observation, and perfect timing. Jax felt a thrill he hadn't felt in a long time. This wasn't just survival, it was a dance with the desert itself. Every decision, every movement mattered. One mistake could undo hours of careful navigation. Finally, they emerged into a wide chamber, bathed in golden sunlight reflecting off crystal walls. At its center, a natural basin collected water, sparkling brilliantly. We did it, Zara said softly, her voice filled with awe. The heart of the Vale is secure. The settlement's water supply is stable, protected, and abundant. Jax dismounted, dusting off his gloves. Told you, humans are good at solving impossible problems. Zara studied him, her eyes shining. Not only your skill, but your courage, judgment, and trust. You honor your kind, human. You remind us why humans endure. Jax felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun. Respect, admiration, and something deeper. An understanding that crossed species, worlds, and experience. You've earned more than survival, Zara continued. You've earned friendship, trust, and a place in Korath's history. Jax tipped his hat. I don't usually stay in one place, but this has been worth the ride. Zara smiled faintly, a rare and genuine gesture. Then perhaps the frontier does not always demand departure. Sometimes it asks only for understanding. They rode back to the settlement together, the twin suns now high in the sky. Residents watched silently as Jax guided the hoverbike, impressed not just by his skill, but by his calm, steady presence. Children waved, adults nodded, and the settlement's elders murmured among themselves. Zara turned to him as they arrived at the main dome. You leave, or do you stay? She asked. Jax considered the question. The frontier was calling, always calling. But he had discovered something rare here, a place where his skills mattered, where his ingenuity saved lives, and where his presence was respected. I'll stay a while, he said finally. The desert still has lessons to teach me, and I suppose I have things to learn from your people as well. Zara's golden eyes shone with approval. Then welcome to Korath, Jax Tanner. May your path be long, and may the frontier continue to challenge you. Jack smiled, tipping his hat once more. The twin suns reflected off the hoverbike, dust swirling around them like starlight. For the first time on Rimworld, he felt a sense of belonging. The frontier had tested him. Storms, puzzles, shifting sands, and ancient technology. He had faced the unknown, solved impossible problems, and earned the respect of an alien people. And as he rode through the streets of Korath, the twin suns casting long shadows behind him, Jax Tanner realized something he had long suspected. The frontier wasn't just a place, it was a way of life. It was about courage, ingenuity, trust, and the quiet understanding that no matter how far one traveled, home could be found in the unlikeliest of places. The desert stretched endlessly, but Jax had learned its language. He had danced with its currents, navigated its traps, and emerged stronger, wiser, and fully alive. And for the first time, he knew that the frontier wasn't just a test. It was a gift. The twin suns climbed higher, the sand glimmered like gold, and Jax Tanner rode onward, leaving trails of hope, ingenuity, and human ingenuity wherever he went. The desert whispered behind him, but he didn't fear it. He had faced the unknown, and he had thrived.
The frontier would never be the same again.